You as an economist have a very clear view on global economic development and momentum. How would you judge, in a couple of phrases, what is going on right now globally?
I would say that there is a recovery of the global economy. Advanced economies are growing faster. Emerging markets are challenged. So in the short run, the global economy is probably going to accelerate in growth. But there are many tail risks in the global economy, some of them old, some of them new.
Tell me about the old tail risks, which maybe start to look a little bit better, and the new tail risks you see.
The old ones are becoming less likely are one, the risk of a breakup of the Eurozone. The second one is a fiscal crisis in the US, like a government shutdown or a debt ceiling fight. The third one is the risk of a debt crisis in Japan, now that Abenomics has reduced that risk. The fourth one was the risk of deflation, but now with very aggressive easing by central bank, that risk is reduced. And then there were two geopolitical risks. One was the war between Israel and Iran. Given the agreement between the great powers in Iran, that's a lower risk. And then there is the whole mess in the Middle East with the Arab Spring, not just Egypt, Tunisia, Libya, but also what's happening, civil war in Syria, in Yemen, instability in Iraq, in Lebanon, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. All these are risks that are still there, but they have lower probability than, say, a year ago. What are the rising risks? I would say number one, the most important one, the risk of a hard landing in China, as you have too much bad investment with too much bad assets in the banking system and bad debts in the private and public sector. The second one is the Federal Reserve in the US could make a mistake and exit the zero policy rates too soon and too fast. And that would have, like in the case of the taper tantrum last year, ripple effects on global financial markets. The third risk is the Fed and other central bank exit zero policies and unconventional monetary policies too late. And all this excess liquidity is leading not to goods inflation, is leading to asset inflation and eventually asset bubble. There's a risk of asset bubbles. Fifth and sixth risks are geopolitical ones. One is the tensions in Ukraine that might lead to a new Cold War between the West, US and Europe on one side, and Russia, maybe even a hot war if there is a destabilization in Ukraine. And the final risk, I would say, are geopolitical tensions in Asia. There are territorial disputes between China and Japan and China and many of its other neighbors. The rise of China, make it peaceful, is the biggest geostrategic challenge for the global economy.